about priorities today. And a priority is a thing that is regarded as more important than another. Now, priorities can sound an awful lot like goals, but we want to be clear that they aren't necessarily goals, right? So goals is something that you're constantly striving for. So a goal would be something like, I want to get into college, or I want to get into that college, or I want to get that job, okay? But a priority is something that you're going to be using day in and day out to help define your use of time, okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we have a quick poll for you. So if you could pull your phone out, you're going to text in on this.
Actually, full screen.
Just full screen. All right.
Oh, no. Clear results.
All right, so what you'll do is you will text the number of the answer choice you chose, which then these are the numbers down here. For the answer choice, that's the message you're sending. And then you'll text it to the code 22333 up at the top. There you go. Some of y'all got it. It's like Kahoot. Not Kahoot. It's like Remind. All right, so let's bring it back in. Let's look at our results. Let's look at it. So it looks like a lot of us spend most of our time either doing homework or with an after-school activity or a sport, which is good. How many of y'all are in sports that you want to be in because you enjoy it? Raise your hand. Awesome. I'm really excited to see that. How many of you are only in sports because your parents told you need to do it, or you're doing it so you can get a scholarship exclusively? That's the only reason you fence? Okay. Okay, that's good. I'm glad y'all find some joy in your after-school activities and your sports. Okay, so a good place to start. When you're making priorities, we like to make lists, okay? Again, it's not a to-do list. These are not things you're going to check off throughout the day. These are things that are going to drive your decision-making of what you're going to do next throughout your day, okay? So you have priorities. And a good place to start is by keeping your priorities simple and realistic. So it needs to be realistic. It needs to be simple. If family is your priority, that's great. If that's what it is, that's Miss Hennig's number one priority is her family. And so out of everything else, her family is always going to win out. If there's something going on, family is always her number one. Next, we recommend you make a top 5 list, and we'll show you what that looks like here in a second. But have your top 5 priorities, okay? These are the 5 most important things that you can always reference back to. These are things that are important to you. They'll help you make decisions, and they'll help you decide what you need to do next in your day. Be willing to sacrifice in order to maintain a balance in your priority list. Sometimes you have to say no to things, and that's okay. If you need to say, no, I'm not going to finish these A-push notes tonight because I need to go to bed, that's okay. If sleep is a higher priority than finishing your homework, that's going to help you make that decision. And then we always want to be checking on our list, reflecting on it, and making sure that it's an accurate representation of our priorities. So here's an example of Mrs. Hennig. That's Mrs. Hennig. This is her priority list. So she made an example for you. See how it's not a goal list or a to-do list? These aren't things she's going to check off. These are things that she's always going to come back to. So her number one priority is her family. That's her husband, that's her kids, that means her time at church, that's all family time. Okay, and so that's her number one priority. Her second priority is KCAL. So her job here, her students here, her coworkers, her lessons. So when she is here, KCAL is her number one priority. Now, if something happens at KCAL, and the other day her son got sick halfway through the day and she was the only one who could pick him up, family is always her number one. She sacrificed finishing the day at KCAL. She had a substitute teacher for the rest of the day. She went and picked up her son. So that's how her priorities changed based on that day. Next, she's in grad school. So her grad school is her third priority, comes after her job. Fourth is self-care, and fifth is her home stuff. So her home, taking care of her home may have been higher on her priority list before she started grad school, but now she started grad school, that's a higher priority. It's been kicked down a little bit, and that's okay. So right now, her house may not look like what she's always wanted it to look like, and that's okay.
Yeah. And sometimes, y'all, like, even like the stuff that I need to take care of at home, sometimes that even falls off my priority list because I need rest, or sometimes, something else needs to go in that place. And so I just change it up because I have some flexibility. Sometimes I don't have time for self-care because I need to focus on something else. So one of the things that I really love is that your priority lists can be flexible. They don't
And an example of that sacrifice that we're talking about, so Miss Hennig had to sacrifice time with friends this year so far. She's had to say no to spending time with friends because she has other priorities like her job or her family or her grad school. Same, she used to have a part-time job that she really, really liked, but she had to say no to that. For right now, it's not on the priority list. She has more important things to do right now, so she sacrificed that extra income because it was not a high priority. Okay, when she finishes graduate school, that blank will go off of that screen. She'll have a new open spot, and so she'll be able to reevaluate, and maybe that's where self-care can step back up again. Yeah? Cool.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay, so in reality, there are a few things that distract us from our priorities, right? We have things in our daily life that are going to distract us from what we think is important. So stress will always be there, y'all. Stress is never going to go away just because you graduate high school. It'll look different. It'll take different forms, and that's okay. But stress is always going to be there, so you need to learn how to work with it. And I think we'll probably do a live talk about stress management coming up soon. But stress is something that's always going to be there, and it's always going to be trying to distract you from what your priorities are. Yeah? Other things like the new thing, whether it's a new show or a new trend or TikTok or a new activity, is always going to be distracting you from what you want to get done. And so you have to decide how that's going to fall into your priority list. Is that self-care for you? If so, maybe put a timer on it. Social life, technology, TV shows. Guys, exhaustion, how many of us are exhausted? Would you define yourself not just tired, but exhausted? Yeah? It's like week 5 of the school year. We've got a lot more to go. And so that's where our priorities come in. They're going to help us manage our lives so we're less likely to get exhausted. Okay, so last but not least, here are things that are going to help you manage your priorities. If you have an accountability partner, whether that's a best friend, whether that's a sibling, someone that's going to help keep you accountable to your priorities, is going to be like, hey, are you doing this because you need to right now, or are you doing this, does it line up with your priorities? Okay? Using a timer on your phone like we talked about, if you're going to be on Instagram or you're on, I don't know, if you're playing a game online or whatever that looks like for you for fun, make sure you put a timer on it. You can't waste away the whole day. It's not going to help you achieve your priorities. Also, committing to watching maybe 2 episodes of a show instead of the whole season at one time, even though we'd all love to just sit and watch The Office on repeat. It's not going to be a good use of our time. Going to bed, having a good bedtime. I know it sounds cheesy. You had a bedtime when you were younger, but having a bedtime as a teenager and adult is almost just as valuable as having one as a kid, because it helps you maintain a healthy cycle in your brain. So your brain knows when it's go time and when it's not go time. Unless you're at a pep rally at 4:30 in the morning, then that just confuses your brain. Okay, so last but not least, we have little note cards that we're going to pass out. We may run out, and that's okay. But if you haven't already done this today, if you can, make a top 5 priority list, okay? So take one, pass it along. If you've already done it today, pass it to someone who hasn't done it yet. But define your 5 priorities. Define your 5 priorities. We recommend you put this somewhere where you'll see it all the time. So Ms. Hendon keeps hers in her wallet. I have mine on my computer screen. I have a little sticky on my computer screen that I keep that there. And she also keeps one in her notebook. Places you'll see it all the time. All right, so after you get back to class, we recommend you write your 5 priorities down, put it somewhere safe that you remember it, and keep you accountable to yourself and to someone else. Thank you so much for coming to our Life Talk, guys. We appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.